Namaste. Welcome to everybody for another session of our Oneness Festival. It is wonderful that we have been having sessions in the morning and sessions in the evening from Shankara Jayanti on 5th of May, almost now the end of May. Another 1 week we have the festival talks going on. Today we have wonderful opportunity to listen to Swami Swatmananda on messages to youth from Shankara. Swami Swatmananda is one of the most dynamic leaders of Chinmaya Mission. He is posted at Chinmaya Mission, South Bombay. He completed Vedanta course from Powai from 1998 to 2000 after graduating in commerce and software engineering. He expounds the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta through talks on Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and other texts of Vedanta, and Bhakti texts through various camps, meditation retreat, interactive sessions and discussions for youth and adults. He has also taught a course called Youth Empowerment Program, which is a value-based leadership for youth who want to serve the nation and culture, where the youth were trained for 3 months and then they serve the country for 9 months. He has written and directed 2 theatrical performances, and he has also written a play based on Bhagavad Gita in the life of Anand family and how they discover harmony by applying the principles of Gita. So he is a wonderful person who has done a lot of work with youth, and we are fortunate to have him speak today. So Swamiji, forum is yours, and I will be here and I will be able to take questions, and you don't have to watch it, but you are welcome to look at it, and I will be happy to facilitate various discussion towards the end. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Prasadji. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om. My salutations to one and all present here. I thank Advaita Academy and Nitinji for once again inviting me to this beautiful festival, the 3rd edition of the festival, the Global Oneness Festival. And the topic, what youth can learn from Adi Shankara and his works. So all of us know that the time when Adi Shankaracharya ji manifested was a time when there was complete intellectual directionlessness in the society as a whole. Sanatana Hindu Dharma had declined, and as a result of that, Buddhism had grown in prominence. Many people had left the Vedic Dharma, gone into the Buddhistic folds. Eventually, Buddhism also went through decline, and There were numerous, almost 72 sects in Vedic Dharma itself. There was a lot of infighting. The Varna Vyavastha had also degenerated. There was blind following of rituals, or even the bhakti paths were being done with more of the selfish interests. So a lot of disarray in the entire society at that point in time. And at that time, this young boy takes upon himself this massive work of revival of this Sanatana Dharma. He did not despair. He did not say at that time that what a terrible condition in which I am born. This whole society has in such a state of disintegration. Nothing much can be done. He did not become hopeless. He did not become pessimistic. He didn't victimize himself. He dedicated himself to the revival of this Vedic Dharma. That became the purpose of his life itself. Now we have to look upon Adi Shankaracharya ji as a leader, as a great spiritual master who saw what was happening around him and who took initiative and who said that I will do what best I can. Who did not despair, saying that, there's nothing much that can be done here. So let me live just my life, enjoy by myself. He didn't take that stand. The first thing we have to learn from his life is he acted out of strength. Swami Chinmayananji always used to say that, operate from strength. We generally focus more on our weaknesses and we go on harping on the weaknesses. But we have to strengthen our strengths and weaken our weaknesses, not do the opposite. We strengthen our weakness and weaken our strengths. Shankaracharya ji operated from strength. He went through Aksharabhyas, he went to the Gurukul, he studied the Vedas, he mastered the Vedas at such a young age of 6. He wrote his first composition at the age of 6. And by 8, he took sannyas. So that young boy, when he saw around him what was happening, he operated from that strength and he said, I will do my best to revive this great Vedic Dharma. Because he studied the Vedic Dharma, understood what is its beauty, its glory, its importance, and he saw what is happening around him. And he took that initiative. So first thing to learn from Shankaracharya's life is to always operate from strength, and he did that throughout his life. Never for a moment he doubted himself, or he said this task is too big, or I don't have time. Or what can I do in such a short life? He was supposed to live only for 16 years. So he didn't say that what can I do in that small span of life, 16 years. Nothing much can be done. It's such a huge work of revival of Sanatana Dharma that requires a long life. He didn't despair that I don't have time. He didn't despair I don't have a team. He didn't despair I don't have an organization or resources. And at that time, no communication technologies and, all these social media and Facebook and Instagram and, to reach the masses is not so easy. But that young boy took upon himself this massive task of revival of Sanatana Dharma, re-establishing the glory of Sanatana Dharma. So that is the first thing, to always operate out of strength. Today we find young people, we get stressed out for such small things. A certain percentage one does not get, or a relationship, there's a heartbreak, or one is not able to get admission in a particular university. One goes through so many challenges. And we are seeing today the mental health pandemic is much bigger than COVID. How many young people going into depression, suicide, drugs, whatnot. So operating from strength, invoking self-belief, focusing on what are my strengths, how can I strengthen those, invoking love for the, self-love, is the first step. If I cannot be strong within, I cannot do anything much outside also. So that is the first point to learn from Shankaracharya's life. Never to despair, always to operate out of strength. Swami Chinmanand used to give us a very nice saying. He would say that it is a weak mind which will always say, can I do it? Must I do it? Will I be able to do it? The strong always say, I can, I must, I will. And together, we can, we must, we will. So that's the first thing to learn from Shankaracharya's life, that age, lack of time, lack of resources, situations around, circumstances, all those people who are not strong, they can give all these excuses. But those who are strong will achieve success in spite of all these being non-conducive, in spite of many other obstacles and challenges. They will work with that tremendous self-belief and confidence. That is the first point. Second point, he did not say that, looking at the Vedic Dharma, which has already gone through decline, there are many challenges. There were many challenges even at that point in time. He did not disown the Vedic Dharma. He did not say that I am spiritual, I am not religious. So many young people say that today. I am spiritual, I am not religious. They don't want to belong to any religion. And by religion, they equate all religions to be the same, which is a fundamental flaw. Not all religions are not the same. Each one, if one goes into the study of it, one will know the goals are different, the means are different. Maybe some values are similar in each of them, but fundamental differences are many. And Vedic Dharma can definitely not be equated to the Abrahamic religions. Unfortunately, our benchmark becomes that. So if one feels that these religions have, the religion is a cause of war, religion a cause of exploitation, etc., I don't want to be a part of religion. Shankaracharya didn't disown. He knew that the development can happen in the world outside. Like even today, we depend so much on the industrialization, or whatever we call as industrial revolution and technology revolution, scientific revolution. So many things we depend on, and they may be necessary, industrial progress or economic growth, development, infrastructure, all that may be very important. It has its own place. But it's the human mind which is most important, and that human mind has to be anchored. If that human mind is not anchored, no matter what one progresses and achieves in the world outside, one will still feel empty, one will still feel hollow, one will still feel insecure, one will still feel weak. And how does the human mind anchor? The knowledge of Vedanta is that which helps us to anchor. And Vedanta is the core of the Vedic Dharma. The entire Vedic Dharma is centered around the knowledge of oneness, that all of us are divine, we are one with that infinite consciousness. And life, not only this life, many, many lives are meant to help us to purify our mind to finally come to discover the state of oneness. So that vision, that spiritual strength is most important. Even in Mahabharata, we find Arjuna is a very skilled warrior. He can shoot with both his hands, he's ambidextrous. He can shoot when blindfolded, he can shoot just at the sound of the target. He doesn't have to even see it. He has done 12 years of penance to attain divine weapons. But in the Mahabharata war, when he sees Bhishma and Drona, he collapses. Emotions overwhelm him, he doesn't know what is his duty. What helps him to bounce back is the spiritual knowledge. That spiritual knowledge comes from the religion. If I say I am spiritual, I am not religious, from where did the spirituality come? So before we repeat these words, as young people, we should think that what is the need of spiritual knowledge? Some people say, Swamiji, it is enough to be good and do good. Nothing more than that is required. It is not enough to be good and do good. And honestly, we cannot do good without letting go of, without dropping our ego and without anchoring in the absolute truth. Because somewhere selfishness and ego will come in. So it's not enough to be good. It is very important to be spiritually good. Prahlad was spiritually good. So even though Hiranyakashipu was continuously tormenting him, attempting to kill him, he never became victimized. Arjun was not spiritually anchored, and when he got anchored because of the knowledge of the Gita, that defeatist Arjun, he picked up his bow, became dynamic Arjun, and he fought the battle, won the war. So the need is to be anchored in spiritual knowledge. Shankaracharya ji knew that this Vedic Dharma is the core competency of Bharat. Bharat itself means the land where people revel in light, in the light of this knowledge of the absolute truth. All other knowledge also, Bharat has attained so many, in fields, different fields, science, management, art, literature, dance, music, in all those fields, Bharat had attained such great heights. Even today, Bharatiyas do contribute a lot, and we can do much more. If we are anchored in what we are really known for and what is our true core competency. Every nation has its own identity. Our identity is the knowledge of oneness. It is the knowledge of the Vedas. And when that knowledge has declined, the whole country will decline. And if we only progress economically at the expense of spiritual knowledge, we may create an abundant society, or a prosperous society, but we will not create a happy society. So Shankaracharya ji took upon himself this idea very clearly to revive the Advaitic knowledge, which is the spiritual knowledge. And that spiritual knowledge is the core of Sanatana Dharma. It is from religion. So second point to understand is this, that we all need spiritual knowledge to invoke that self-belief. Atmana vindate viryam, says the Upanishad. Kenopanishad says that. Atmana vindate viryam, vidyaya vindate amritam. So if we want to bounce back to what Bharat was and what Bharat can achieve even today, we need to anchor in spiritual knowledge. Shankaracharya ji did that. If it was not for him, today this knowledge would not be available to us. His short life of 32 years, what he has achieved cannot be achieved in many, many lifetimes. So he took upon himself this idea that I must revive, and he stayed within this dharma and revived the dharma. That is the third point to understand. Very, very important aspect. It is this, that we see what Buddha did and what Shankaracharya did. Is one big difference. Buddha was the son of King Shuddhodhan, and he saw some of the decadent practices of Sanatana Dharma, and he walked out of Sanatana Dharma. That was his choice. Nothing wrong about that. He chose to walk out, and Buddhism was founded, and he did his own sadhana, and that's a different story altogether. Shankaracharya ji also saw the decadent practices, and as I said, in his times there is much more decadence. But he didn't choose to walk out. He stayed within this dharma and he revived this dharma. He didn't go out. He didn't condemn it. He did not take a diplomatic stand. He did not go out and start something new. Absolutely. He stayed within the system, revived the system. I'm not saying what Buddha did was wrong and what Shankaracharya did alone was right. Each one has their own viewpoint and their own choices each one made, and we respect all of them. But one thing to learn is that there may be challenges, there may be lots of problems within the culture, within the country. What are we doing? Is our action or our viewpoint such that we are able to bring about a change and revive the essence of the practice and leave behind the decadence? Shankaracharya ji followed the dharma. He went through Aksharabhyas, he went through Upanayana Samskar, he went through he went to the Guru, did the Veda Abhyas. Finally, he took sannyas. Even that sannyas that he took by himself at 8 years when the crocodile caught him, after that, that is called Apat Sannyas. And then when he went to meet his Guru and he found his Guru, Govinda Bhagavadpada Acharya, there his Guru initiated him formally into sannyas also. So he went through the tradition, the parampara properly, and brought about the revival of the Vedic parampara throughout. So he lived that parampara. He did not just speak about it, or he just did not condemn it. He lived it. And where even he fell for a decadent practice, he immediately corrected himself. For a split moment, he fell for it when he saw the Chandala in Varanasi, and he said, Gacha, Gacha, move, move. And the Chandala says, who? What should move from where? Annamayad Annamayam Athva Chaitanyameva Chaitanyat. Should this Annamaya Kosha move from Annamaya Kosha? Everything is made up of this food alone. Or should consciousness move from consciousness? What should move from where? That very moment he realizes that Chandala is none other than Lord Shiva, and he falls at his feet and he says, Chandalostu Satudvijostu Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. Whoever it may be, that person is my Guru. Maybe a Dvija or maybe a Chandala. But if that person has his vision of oneness, that person is my Guru. So he stayed within the Dharma and he revived the Dharma. That is the beauty of Shankaracharya ji. And with a great sense of focus, he went about his work with a great sense of missionary zeal to revive Sanatan Dharma. Imagine his father has passed away. His mother has, he is the only child of his mother. But the work that the country requires, the Vedic Dharma requires, is huge. And he feels, I can do it. He seeks the permission of his mother and he goes. He could have stayed back, saying, I'm the only son, who will take care of my mother? But mother also sacrifices, son also sacrifices. And with a great sense of focus, he dedicates himself to the country, to the Vedic Dharma. So as youth, one should ask oneself, what is my life dedicated to? There's nothing wrong in wanting to become successful by oneself, but that alone cannot be life. That can be one goal in life. The goal of life has to be something greater. What is that greater purpose that my life is meant for, is dedicated to? This is the land which has produced so many great masters who have dedicated themselves for higher purposes. We need to understand those, not only in spiritual field, even so many great freedom fighters, so many great kings and queens, artists, artisans, they have dedicated themselves to great work, sublimating their ego and ensuring that something great is done, which is a lasting legacy, which ensures a better way of life, which helps to remove sorrow and suffering from the world and brings about this vision of oneness. So Shankaracharya ji's life was dedicated to that. We have to ask ourselves, to what great purpose is my life dedicated? Swami Chinmayanand ji always said, a single ideal can transform a listless soul into a towering leader of men. Many exist, but few live. To live, you need an inspiring ideal. What is that inspiring ideal for which my life is dedicated? I should ask myself that and prepare myself for that. Shankaracharya ji prepared himself to revive Sanatan Dharma. Though he studied the Vedas, he mastered it, he took sannyas by the age of 8, he still went in search of his Guru, walking all the way from Kaladi to Omkareshwar, found his Guru, stayed with the Guru, studied under the Guru, and when the Guru gave him permission, then he started the work. So he prepared himself thoroughly, with great humility, with great focus, sacrificing any desire for comfort. Otherwise, think about it, small child is natural to desire comfort, natural to be, in a playful mood, spend time. Childhood is the best time of life. But
there is a break in the
Yeah, sir, I think some power cut at Swamiji end. Kindly wait for 5 minutes. We'll see.
Okay. Should we just fill the gap, or it's okay?
No,
Nitinji?
we will wait, Prasadji.
We'll
He
wait.
will come.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks.
I will just talk to him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he got cut off. Yeah.
There is a power cut at Swamiji's place. He is joining back in 5 minutes. So, yeah, please do bear with us till then.
Hari Om.
Namaste, Swamiji.
So we were on the point that Shankaracharya ji prepared himself, went to the Guru, took his guidance to start this great work of Sanatana Dharma's revival. And so with tremendous amount of focus, he went about his work. That is something that we as youngsters have to learn, that first of all, what is the higher purpose for which my life is dedicated to. The faster I find that, the greater my potential will manifest. As I was saying, Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji said that a single ideal can transform a listless soul into a towering leader of men. Many exist, but few live. To live, we need an ideal. What is that ideal to which my life is dedicated? It need not be only a spiritual ideal, as I said earlier. It can be any ideal to remove poverty, to help the poor, to educate. It can be anything. What is that to which my life is dedicated, which is a life of service? And how do I prepare myself for it? And with what focus do I go about it? That is a very important aspect. Dr. Abdul Kalam used to say a very nice line when he wrote a song for the youth, a song of the youth, in his book called Ignited Minds. There he writes one line: small aim is a crime. So small aim is a crime is to understand this, that it's not about setting small goals or big goals for personal achievement. It is how much impact is my life making? What difference did I make having been born as a human being here? How much is the world a better place because of me? And in that, the greatest service to be done is to anchor somebody in spiritual knowledge. There are different ways to serve, no doubt, but in that, the spiritual knowledge is the most powerful one, because it helps the person not only to live life happily here and become a contributor in the society, but also helps the person to realize that vision of oneness, that who am I truly? I am not this miserable entity, this Mr. So-and-so. I am that infinite consciousness, and it helps the person to come out of the cycle of birth and death. And that's why there is no greater gain than this. Gita says, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha. There is no greater gain than this knowledge of the self. And Shankaracharya ji devoted himself to revive this Advaitic tradition, and that through that strengthen the very foundation of this Sanatana Dharma and this national culture in this country. Because the culture is the culture which is rooted in this Vedic Parampara. And Shraddha in the Shastra, Shraddha in Ishvara, Shraddha in the Guru, all that had declined because of the influence of Buddhism and the decadent Buddhism, decadent Hinduism. Shankaracharya revives all that with his great focus and his work. So that is one thing to learn, that what is that single pointed focus that one has in life. We may have too many desires and then the mind gets dissipated. The second chapter Gita, Bhagavan says that Bahushakha yanantascha buddhayo avyavasayina. The mind just gets dissipated in so many desires and so many things to achieve, so much to enjoy, so many places to see, visit, go here, there. By itself, nothing wrong in it. If one wants to do that, that's one's choice. But if one wants to achieve something great, then a tremendous amount of focus is required, sacrifice is required, and that's what Shankaracharya ji did. Then another point to learn from his life is he traveled across the country. He didn't stay in just one place. He traveled, as I said earlier, from Kaladi he went to Omkareshwar, and from there he went to Banaras, and from there he went to Badrinath, across the country, even up to Gandhar he has gone. Peshawar and Gandhar he has gone, Kamarupa, Kamakhya in Assam, down south, Dwarka, Puri, everywhere, traveled this country. We will feel for this country and this culture and its people when we travel and we see what is there in this country, what is the glory of this country, what are the beautiful ways by which our ancestors have lived, what values they have cherished, what kind of legacy they have left for us. We will feel connect with the soil of this country. When we travel, we understand, our entire perception will change, and that patriotic feeling comes when we travel. So just like many youngsters travel abroad and they want to study outside, nothing wrong with that. Or even for vacations, one goes abroad, spends some time. That is each one's choice. But do travel within this country. And it will be so amazing that what all this country has. For the kind of things that this country has, even a minuscule of that some other places have, and they get hyped up so much. This country is flooded with so many such things. So many historical monuments and temples and art, architecture, literature, innovation. I mean, it's just stunning. And what kind of standard our great ancestors have followed, what kind of things they have set for us. Even today, we cannot replicate some of the things that they have made. How they would have made it. What level of finesse and quality. They did not have this chalta hai attitude and mediocrity. They set highest standards. So Shankaracharya ji, when he traveled across the country to revive Sanatana Dharma, sitting in one place, it is just not possible. In those days, without much facilities available, he walked across the country so many times, conducted debates, discussions, established temples, revived old temples, many things that he did. And for him, the feeling of being a nationalist is also very powerful. We have to learn that also from his life. Don't look at him only as some saint. He is a great national leader, a Hindu nationalist, if we have to say that. And he did not focus, when we say Hindu, it does not mean that he focused only on people who were Hindus. He worked for humanity. He did not classify people, oh, these are Hindu people, only with them I will debate, or only for them I will do these compositions, or only they are eligible for this knowledge. No. He gave to all. And so many who had gone out of the Hindu fold also, he spoke to them, he convinced them, he brought them back. Single-handedly, he ensured that so many Hindus who had gone away into the Buddhistic folds, he brought them back, because so many people changed because the king converted into Buddhism or even Jainism. And so the Praja will also convert. So he held discussions with kings, he held discussions with the scholars, even with materialists, even with people of Tantra, and he has even revived the Tantric system. It's very amazing what all he has done in his short life. So he didn't restrict himself only to people, some class of people. He was there for all. And he was there to give this knowledge. Whoever was ready, whoever accepted it, he brought them back into the Sanatana Dharma. So traveling across the country, feeling, knowing these are my countrymen, and some of them have become directionless, they have wandered away, getting them back, all that is also a deep sense of compassion and commitment towards the country and the culture. We should ask ourselves that, what is my commitment towards my country and my culture? What did I do for that? And at a deeper level, not only at a financial level, that also is helpful, no doubt, but how much at a deeper level, through education or through spiritual knowledge or through any other means, through research, through taking my country into the top level in the whichever field I am. There are so many ways to contribute. I should start thinking about that. Like our Vedas, they say, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava in the Taittiriya Upanishad. The fifth mantra we should add, that is for our inspiration. In Vedas, we don't need to add. For our inspiration, we have to add is Rashtra Devo Bhava. May my country be God unto me. May I serve with dedication. My actions should be such that I prepare myself to contribute, to become a great contributor to my country. Not only think about I, me and mine. Because we are taking continuously from this country. So I should know what is this country. Today, so many young people don't even understand what is Bharat. And so many false narratives are set that Bharat was never one country. Bharat was only a set of kingdoms and there was no entity called Bharat. All wrong notions. So one should know one's past. One should know one's history properly, not through false narratives. And when we travel, when we learn, when we go back to our source, Shankaracharya went back to the source. Vedas are the source. Puranas, Itihasas, the entire scriptural literature is our source. We have to also go back to the source, not just depend on hearsay and false narratives. What does Ramayana say? What does Mahabharata say? I have to go back to the source and read. Same way, whatever Smritis they say, whatever Puranas they say, from where does this word Bharat come? In Vishnu Puran and Kurma Puran and so many places the word Bharat has been mentioned. So we have to go back. As young people, we should go back to the source from where all this is coming, originating. That is very, very important. If we don't know this, we will be completely carried away in this false narrative that, I am a cosmic citizen. I am not bound by these boundaries of nation and, religion, etc. All that is nonsense. Only we Hindus get brainwashed to say all this. Others don't even say that. Janani Janmabhumischa Swargadapi Gariyasi, Valmiki Ramayana. Beautiful line that is. Shankaracharya himself is living. He is an Advaitic master. For Advaitic master, there are no boundaries, honestly. There is one infinite consciousness. All boundaries are gone. Jati, Niti, Kula, Gotra, everything gone. But that master has committed himself to revival of Sanatana Dharma and lives with that nationalistic fervor that this is my country, I will take upon myself to revive this Sanatana Dharma. Then what else can be spoken if somebody says, no, I am Advaitic, I am a Vedantic master, or I am a Vedantic student, or I am a cosmic citizen, I am a global citizen, I don't believe in boundaries of nation and it is divisive, and all that is false narratives which are being created. There are definitely these things which are required, which will help us to sublimate our ego, even from spiritual standpoint. So service to the country. Swami Chinmayananji, he gave us beautifully in the pledge of Chinmaya Mission, we have a line. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. That's a line, beautiful line. Patriotism is very, very important. And that feeling that this is my country. Otherwise, how many young people today, they say, why should we have so many, so much of bloodshed and conflict? Give away Kashmir. What is there in that? Are? How can you just say that? Because people don't feel what is this country, that land where Sarvajna Peeth was there, and Shankaracharya ji is the person who ascended that Sarvajna Peeth. Today that place is not with us. Sharda Mandir is in POK. And it doesn't pain. It doesn't pinch. Because we don't know the past. We don't know the history. We have not gone back to the source. We have believed all things that people have told us. So what Shankaracharya ji did, he went back to the source and he brought the source back to the people. That was the work that he did. Today, a lot of young people want to be, you ask people, what do you want to become? So they'll say, I'm a content creator. I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to be a content creator, Shankaracharya ji was the original content creator. Before him, there was nobody who has written commentaries on Prasthanatraya. Brahma Sutra, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Prasthanatraya. He wrote commentaries on that. There is no benchmark for him. His commentaries are available for other people now. So Ramanujacharya ji, Madhvacharya ji and many others, they wrote commentaries after him. He wrote Prasthanatraya commentaries. He wrote Vishnu Sahasranam commentary. Then he wrote so many compositions, more than 200 plus stotrams he wrote. So many other texts. And I think 70 or 80 texts like Tattva Bodh, Atma Bodh, Vivek Chudamani, Upadesh Sahasri, so many he has written. Original content creator he is. How much content he has created? One man. What conviction he had, and to help out all levels of seekers. Right from an atheist onwards to the highest worshipper of the formless. For every level he has created content. How amazing is that? He didn't cater to only one class of people who will understand only a certain type of philosophy at a certain level. Right from a small child, he wrote, even for a small child, Shiva Panchakshara Stotram and all, so beautiful compositions they are. And that same Shankaracharya wrote on the Nirgun Nirakar Tattva Chidananda Rupa Shivoham also. So very, very beautiful content creator. Left that content for posterity. Think about it. Even if you want to become a content creator, be a content creator like Adi Shankaracharya ji, who creates a content which will last for centuries and generations. Is my content such that it will last like that? That quality of content I should create. Not just content to get some popularity and so many likes and so many followers. Likes and followers you can buy today. It's not very difficult. That's not important. What is the quality of content am I producing? What impact does it have on society? How much of my potential is manifesting through that? Is it creating a positive influence or not? We should have those things in mind. Style should not be over substance ever. Substance has to be most important. As young people, we have to remember that. Shankaracharya ji could use Sanskrit language like plastic. He can mold it into any form he likes. But his content, incomparable. Whether it is his bhashyas, whether it is stotrams, whether it is his own individual the books that he wrote, the scriptures that he wrote, just there's no match to that content that he created. And he also did an MBA, not from IIM or ISB or some XLRI or some Ivy League university. No, he did a different MBA. That is the MBA that all young people should do. What is that? Mind-body alignment. That knowledge of Vedanta helps a person to align the BMI and transcend that BMI to experience oneness. And he gave all those methods. That is the knowledge that we need today. If our mind body is aligned, that is called yoga. And today what are we doing? We are disowning everything that is Hindu. Unfortunately, yoga is not Hindu. Why? How come yoga is not Hindu? It has roots only in Hindu culture. Slowly, one by one, we are removing everything that is glorious about Hindu culture, and then we will feel anyway what is Hindu culture. It is only caste system. It is only some animal sacrifice, some blind ritualism. I don't want to belong to this religion. Shankaracharya ji brought back the Sanatana Dharma by reviving its core and re-establishing those systems. Very, very important. See, yoga has become popular in the world, but how many people will teach yoga in its traditional form with the traditional way in which it should be practiced? That is important. Otherwise, it gets appropriated by people. How many people do Surya Namaskar? They will do 100 Surya Namaskars, 108 Surya Namaskars. Sorry, that is not the way it is to be done. Only 12 Surya Namaskars need to be done. One has to stay in a posture. Sthiram Sukham Asanam. Stay in that posture for a certain time. That will bring the stretch and burning of calories and everything will happen. We try to make it popular and we lose the essential core aspect of that practice goes away. Our people don't even know the names today. They will not say Bhujangasana, they will say Cobra pose. They will not say Parvatasana, they will say mountain pose. So many poses of Surya Namaskar. One will not say that properly. Shankaracharya ji, he ensured that the tradition is revived properly. Because that's a time-tested tradition, proper tradition it is. In science, we don't want to compromise. We want to follow everything as per what so-called scientists have said. Then why do we compromise in spirituality and in yoga and in rituals and in all our, Adhyatmic Shastra? There we want to adapt and do anything we like just to make it popular and make it commercial. No. As young people, we should learn that. If we don't stand for our culture, who else will stand? That is very important for us, that if I learn yoga, I should know what is the root, from where did this yoga come? What are the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras? What is the system of yoga? 8 steps are there, and what will it lead me to finally? It's a beautiful way of evolving. Shankaracharya ji was not only a great Advaitin, he was a great yogi. So many things he has done in his life. He has traveled by sky also. He has done Parakaya Pravesh also. Many things he has done. Only a master of yoga can do all that. His own guru lived for 1,000 years for waiting for him, Shankaracharya ji. The entire Narmada was filled by Shankaracharya ji when it was in floods in his Kamandal. All that is not possible until the person is anchored in yoga properly. So he was a great master who revived the traditions, the time-tested traditions. We have to do that if we are speaking about revival. There is a lot of leadership also that we can learn from him. His communication skills, when he conducted debates, how he won over the arguments, and how he uses logic to prove the existence of the absolute consciousness and that oneness with that absolute consciousness. As young people, we should use logic for that. We may say, no, I'm very scientific and I use my scientific knowledge to dismiss the very notion that there is a God. There is no God. Which God? What God? I believe in science. I don't believe in God. That division itself is coming from Abrahamic faith. It is not there in our culture. The science and spirituality debate versus science versus spirituality debate itself is not there in our culture because we don't see them as different. And our understanding of God is very different from what the other people feel. You should read the Bhashya of Kenopanishad where Shankaracharya explains systematically so many points he has given to say why God exists and why the nature of God is pure consciousness. Beautiful. So logic should be used for that, to understand the deeper things, to understand what transcends the buddhi, what transcends the individuality, and what is that absolute truth. Science can be used in some ways. Today, the modern science knowledge is limited. If you go into quantum physics, it may come little more closer to Vedanta, but that cannot be the praman to understand God. So as young people, we should know what praman to use for what. You cannot use an objective science to prove subjective consciousness. There is no connection only. Logic can be used, but beyond a point, there is, Upanishads also say that this truth is not realized by logic. Logic can help us to come to the peak of the buddhi. Then one has to transcend. Shankaracharya spoke about that. So as a great leader, he did lots of debates. He established organizations, mathas. He gave the Maha-Anushasana, how to run a matha. In 4 different parts of the country, he established the mathas. Again, look at the strategic positioning of these 4 mathas. And gave one matha, one responsibility of one Veda to propagate that knowledge. How to run that matha, how to choose a successor, all that he has given in that. Such a great leader. What we call nowadays, standard operating procedures, SOP. He gave SOPs at that time, that how a matha should run. So, leadership skills, communication skills. Again, he was a great social reformer also. So many systems which have got degenerated, where people are being exploited in the name of rituals, or people are being exploited in the name of tantra. He revived all those. Varna Vyavastha, he spoke about that. Certain things, we should understand that he was he was moved with a lot of compassion also. He came back for his mother, and he finally did the funeral rites of his mother also, though he was outcasted for it. I mean, outcasted in the sense, sannyasi anyway doesn't belong to any varna, but the point is that people condemned him, criticized him, but he didn't fall for just, the playing to the orthodoxy. What promise he had given to his mother, he came, he delivered that promise that when you need me, in the last moments, I will be there with you. So he moved out, he was moved with compassion. He did work to revive certain systems, and he also ensured that the legacy, that the knowledge that he has given continues after him. So he trained those disciples. So as a teacher also, you look at him, how compassionate is he as a teacher? If I don't have time to go into the depth, but go into the stories of how the 4 main disciples are, how he chose those 4 main disciples, and then of course various compositions that he wrote, all those show how great a teacher he was, how great an organizer he was, a great leader he was, a great communicator, a great team builder, a great motivator. So many qualities we can learn from him. Once we look at him as a person from whom is not, we don't limit him only to a spiritual saint. That is the foundation, that is his main aspect. But with that are so many other facets of his life. And in 32 years' time, he inspired not only people, as I said, he inspired all types of people. There was a king called Rajashekara, there was a king called Sudhanva. Different kings he inspired, different scholars he inspired, common men he inspired. Somebody who was mugging up grammar rules in Kashi, he was speaking to them. He was out of compassion telling him about Bhajagovindam, that why are you reading grammar rules at this age? So right from a common man to the king, he catered to everybody. And in 32 years' time, he finished his work. Went away quietly. No fanfare, nothing. Just quietly disappeared behind Kedarnath. So that way, such a great master, we have a lot to learn from him. As young people, any of these qualities, if they inspire us, our life itself will be fulfilled. Even if you look at him even as a teacher, how many young people want to become teachers today? The destiny of the nation is in the hands of the teacher. How many people feel that and act like that? Shankaracharya was a teacher. And because he was that, he revived that entire Sanatana Dharma. So as young people, we have to think that what all can be done. Don't think only in terms of wealth or power or fame. That will also come when it has to come. But think in terms of contribution. Think in terms of country, of culture, what can be done. So that's where I will stop. And any questions, we are welcome.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. It was very clear. You laid out all the way from what is spiritual knowledge, religion, and how Shankara has contributed from the beginning of his life to death extraordinarily well. I should not even call that death actually. It is Mahasamadhi. There is one question, again, you talked about it right up front, but there is a clarification that is needed by one of the speakers. One of the questioners. Mr. Raghavan says, religion divides us into sects, while spirituality unifies us as oneness. Please guide us. So, even now, how do we think about, you are right, in India, United States, all of them say, we are interested in being spiritual. We want spiritual knowledge, but we don't want to be limited to just thinking about religion as it is. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So, one thing we have to understand is, religion is a subjective science. And any science has pure science and applied science.
Yeah.
So pure science is the philosophy or the spiritual knowledge, what people generally refer to. And the applied science are the rituals. And in that rituals, there may be certain methods which are applicable to certain people because of their temperament. Now, if we say that everybody should follow the same method, it will not work. That's not our culture. That's again a Western thought. Our culture is to customize. So somebody may love the form of Shiva, somebody may love the form of Vishnu, somebody may love Devi, somebody may love Ganesha, somebody may love Subramanya, somebody may love Surya, and somebody may love the formless. These are only the means to quieten the mind, to purify the mind. By themselves, they don't divide. See, because we have variety of means, if we say, religion is divisive, that is our wrong notion. It's like saying that I have variety of breakfast, so, the food is dividing me. Food cannot divide you. You have variety of breakfast, so you enjoy it. Same way for different temperaments of people, there are different things which are mentioned and they are prescribed. But all of us essentially are divine. Is that not what at least Vedanta is saying? I will not comment on all different religions. I will comment only on Sanatana Dharma. What is Sanatana Dharma saying? That Shiva in ultimate nature also is pure consciousness. Vishnu also is pure consciousness. Devi also is that same pure consciousness. Each one, depending on what is their temperament, will choose a particular form or a particular way, and finally they will reach their culmination where they purify the mind, unify the mind, and finally they will drop all those things and they will come to realize absolute consciousness. So spiritual knowledge, if I say I only take spiritual knowledge, it is like saying I will read books on swimming, but I will not jump into water. The techniques are there in the ritual aspect. If you don't do that, and that both things combined is religion. So if I say I don't want religion, I want only spiritual knowledge, then I'm not wanting to practice. And that's why we find that I may study a lot, but I don't feel the transformation within. So divisiveness doesn't come because religion gives many paths. Divisiveness comes because we become narrow-minded that only this path is correct or this path is greater than other paths. That is the human selfishness and human desire for control, which anyway spiritual knowledge tells us to drop. So I don't think there is any conflict actually as far as Sanatana Dharma is concerned. If I am a religious person, then I am actually following the pure science and the applied science both, and that's the way to follow any science. One without the other is incomplete. So I'll end with this quote of Gurudev. Gurudev used to say that rituals without the philosophy are blind, and philosophy without rituals is lame. Now think about it, both I require. Spirituality is ritual, philosophy, and rituals is the religion part which we are saying. Together actually both make the religion, but we have limited religion only to rituals. That's where our problem is. You are muted, Prasadji.
Prasadji, you are muted.
Sorry, excellent clarification, Swamiji. Thank you very much for that. That is primarily the question that came. There are wonderful comments about your talk. So with that, we will end today.
Thank you.
I appreciate again having you as the speaker for the youth. And it is so much important today for the youth to hear from variety of perspectives and for them to follow the Sanatana Dharma. Namaskar.
Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you for attending this evening's talk from India and morning talk in United States. We have another talk in the evening. It is something which you might want to attend as well. Icchatyadikaranam, a critical study of Icchatyadikaranam by Dr. Gauri Mahulikar. She is a professor in Chinmaya International University. I hope you all tune in for the wonderful presenter who is going to talk this evening for United States and tomorrow morning for India. Thank you for attending today's talk and have a wonderful evening for people in India and wonderful day for people in the United States. Namaskar.